Welcome to Technology for Humans. Today we're talking about, do I need a CTO? Or really, do you need a CTO? As businesses start to scale and as they start to take on more territory, perhaps they're looking to be acquired, sell, list, a bunch of questions start to be asked, especially regarding their technology stacks, things that haven't come up before, things that haven't been uncovered before, or just questions that should have been asked and didn't. Some of these questions are we spending too much on our software or on our SaaS products or licenses? Is there overlap on those products? Are the products actually being used? Are the products onboarding people correctly? Next question is, should we build or buy custom software? Sometimes it's going to be a lot cheaper, obviously, to purchase something off the shelf or license it. But is it fit for purpose, or is it going to have too many compromises in it? Building custom software up front is going to be quite an expense. However, longer term, it might be a smarter move. Is the data reliable? Big question. Do you have missing data? Do you have conflicting data? Do you have data in lots of different places, in lots of different pieces of software around the business? Naming exactly what the correct source of truth is for each area of your organization is extremely important. And then centralizing things like, as an example, email addresses. Do you have staff members that are holding on to two particular pieces of information because they are afraid to hand it over, or they just don't know that it's needed? Let's have a look at another question. Can AI actually help the business, or will it be a hinder? The answer to that question is dependent on a lot of the other questions that are being asked in this video. But is there a benefit? Is there any concrete consequential improvement to the business that AI can do? What about the security risk? Do all of our pieces of software have correct security? Are we collecting pieces of information that we shouldn't be collecting and hanging on to? Do staff members use information that isn't properly secured? Do you have implementation projects or other software projects internally that are costing too much money? You know, there was a budget of $100,000 to implement a piece of software. You're at $500,000 and you're nowhere near being done, or perhaps it's not even a goal or a clear plan in sight of what should be done. Finally, are the technology decisions in your business feeling difficult? Are they feeling like they're not aligned to the business? Are they random or arbitrary? Answering these questions, and of course there's quality to these questions. They're not all a yes, no, although I've phrased them like that. There can be a yes, partially so, or, sometimes, or some things. But that usually is where a CTO can become valuable. A CTO can sort out the answers to these questions, get them correct where they need to be, and fix them so they don't happen again. Working out longer term plans. A CTO will help to answer questions like, where should the business invest in the technology? What long-term software do we need to license? How long do we license that for? Should we cancel subscriptions? Should we add or change those subscriptions? What should we stop doing? What should we no longer do? You have no idea how many times I'll go into a business and find pieces of software that are just not being used at all, never properly implemented, never adopted by the business, but somebody thinks that someone else in the business needs it, and so it keeps being licensed. Are there systems in the business that are creating risk? Are you using Excel spreadsheets or Word documents to save things on unencrypted devices, that sort of thing? What is the rollout for AI? Decide perhaps that you need to have AI in the business and there are some good use cases. How do you roll that out? How do you pilot something? How do you use it safely? Look at the technology decisions that need to be made over the next 12 to 24 months. Where does the business want to be in that time? How is the technology going to back that up? So you're not trying to do something at the last minute and perhaps failing and letting the whole business down. And then As a result of that, of course, how do you scale without creating technical debt? That is making the situation worse. These are some of the things that a good CTO will do. Some of it they'll need to do, some of it they might not, depending on your use case and your exact circumstances. But the role is really, there's someone who works on the strategy of the business. There's somebody that works on the architecture of the overall technology of the business. And they are a leader of sorts. And as a leader, of course, there's a bunch of things that a CTO is not. So what is a CTO not? They're not the IT support person in the business. They're not the person that we all call up when something goes wrong and I can't debug and I don't know how to do something. Who do I call? Oh, I know, the CTO. No, CTO is being used incorrectly. That perhaps as an IT manager or an IT support person in your business, it's not the CTO. You're paying a lot of money for someone and probably not full-time to debug something that should be, someone else's job. So they're not a help desk manager either. So if the clients or the users of your software have difficulties, they don't call the CTO. Maybe in a small business, a CTO might hold that hat from time to time and might do some of that job. They're not a software developer. You have no idea how many times I'll start a meeting with someone who calls themselves the CTO, and you start asking them questions about the strategy and the long-term plans of the business with regards to the software, and they actually don't know the answer. The reason is because they're actually a software developer. They are day-to-day working on the software, which is fine. They might be very good at that, but they're not feeding into a larger overall strategy. Someone else is telling them what to do, or nobody is telling them what to do, and they're just sort of working it out as they go. If your CTO is being a software developer, they've got it wrong. You need to have them step out of that. They're not, to the same degree, a cybersecurity specialist. They're not doing the red teaming. They're not doing the pen testing themselves, that sort of thing. And of course, they're not a project manager either. Now, a good CTO can do all of those things and absolutely should be able to do all of those things because they're going to advise the people that are doing them and perhaps direct and to some degree manage them, but they're not doing those things themselves. So you might start to get the idea of what a CTO should do in your business and what they shouldn't do in your business. Truthfully, in Australia at the moment, and this is probably true, translate it for other parts of the world, good CTO for a business, $200,000 to $400,000, for a medium-sized business, obviously goes up from there. For the larger businesses, a large enterprise, there'll be multiples of that, obviously. And correctly so, a properly trained and qualified CTO will easily make that money back or save that money for the business. A smaller business or a smaller medium business might not be able to afford that. And so we have the fractional CTO job. The fractional CTO works maybe for half a day or a day a week. And perhaps on a limited contract as well. They might not even work all the months of the year. And this is a good way to get some of the guidance and expertise of a CTO into the business without having to overspend on it. So a fractional CTO will be able to assist on the strategy of the technology of your business. They will be able to help select vendors and help narrow the list of who should be used. They'll help with that AI roadmap that we discussed earlier. They'll help audit and understand all of the technology of the business, remove the things that shouldn't be used, add back in the things that should be there, provide a high-level oversight on any software development that's being done in the business, and basically be the conduit between the technical team and the CEO or board even. One of the important things that we are discovering a CTO needs to be able to do is communicate well with the staff. One of the reasons why technology fails in a business is because the staff weren't properly onboarded on pieces of software, and this might have happened at some point in the past, forced to use something that wasn't fit for purpose. And so they've gotten a little bit allergic to being told this is the software that we're going to use, or this is the thing that's going to solve everything for you. They often have their own ideas about what should be used, and in many cases have implemented that themselves, to the detriment of the business, of course. And so being able to handled those objections and those considerations from the staff, and helping them to see that a piece of software is correct and getting them properly trained on it might be an important part of the job, or at least assisting them to do that. So a good CTO then will be working on the technology and the personnel of the business who are operating that technology to create a better working environment for the business, obviously increasing productivity, lessening the confusion in the business, making it easier to work in, and ideally speaking, helping to make money or save money in the business. If you don't know whether your systems or software in your business needs the guidance of a CTO, if you're planning, on utilizing your data better or implementing AI or working out your own custom software, definitely the step for you is not to spend more money or to buy more tools or to hire more vendors. It's to get some expert guidance in to understand what you're trying to achieve and align the technology in your business for that by making a clear plan. I hope I helped.